Did you hear that? I'm going to call the May 15th, 2018 meeting of the White Bear Lake Conservation District Board to order. We have a quorum, actually a full board tonight. Way to go.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So thank you for being here. The first or third item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. And does anybody have any additions or modifications to the agenda?
Under unfinished business,
Okay.
I would like to see what happened to the February meeting minutes.
Okay.
They have not yet been approved.
Okay, and any other items? So I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Approval of prior board meeting minutes, the April 17th minutes were in your packet. Are there any modifications to that? Mike?
On page 2, number 10, Lake Quality Committee.
And Mike, would you mind speaking into your microphone there? Thank you.
There we go, sorry about that. Page 2, item 10, the first bulleted item, it reads down towards the last sentence, a bid for $3,100, which includes treatment and a full report. It does not include a treatment, it includes a survey. Treatment's yet to come.
So change treatment to survey.
Okay.
That's it.
Any other adjustments to the minutes?
Yeah, on number 14,
See?
you have here that the Harrods have provided the certification. They haven't provided any certification. They've provided a letter, which they themselves wrote. Nothing has been certified. So I think that needs to have, the Harrods have provided a letter stating their dimensions. They haven't had anything certified.
Okay, does anybody else, Susie has a conflict of interest with this item. Is there anybody else that would like to take up this suggested change? And if not, then we'll just leave it. Alan?
Chair and board, I think she does have a point if you want to mince words, but it'd probably be more appropriate if the minutes reflect confirmation, because that's really what the board was looking for. And so the documents that were provided were essentially confirmation that you'd asked for. So certification is probably a little heavy-handed.
Very heavy-handed. Also, they wrote that.
That's all I've got to say on it.
Okay.
Change it to confirmation, certification.
Yep.
Brian,
Susie?
you said I had a conflict of interest. I also think the Harrods had a conflict of interest in writing their own confirmation.
Okay, thank you.
I think that should be noted too, for future reference.
Any other adjustments to the minutes? Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that passes. Okay, we're on to public comments, which is the time that we set aside for anybody that would like to discuss items that are not on the agenda. And is anybody interested in doing that? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on. New business. I have no new business items. Next item, unfinished business. I have no unfinished business. Susie would like to discuss the February meeting minutes, so please do that.
Yeah, in the minutes, it said that Mr. Mahoney had requested the county information regarding the Harrods lot size. That wasn't at all what he requested. That's publicly available online, so it would be kind of silly to ask for it. He had asked for the certified copy or certified document that had been asked for in July of 2017 to be produced.
Kim, did you go back and review those?
I did, and they had been changed like she requested, and it has been published on the website, and it's also on file in the office, which is required by Robert's law, that once they're requested to be corrected, they're done so, published, and then put on file.
So what was the correction?
You had, I went back and looked at the tape, and I corrected it to how your, Mr. Mahoney had said he had requested it to be from July and so on. And it's all,
And Kim,
it's all there for you if you'd like to read it too, Suzie.
are those minutes online?
Yes,
On our
there are
website?
hard copies online. It's also, the actual video of the meeting is online.
Okay.
So they're both there, yeah.
Okay, any further discussion on this item? Okay, we'll move on. Reports. The executive committee didn't meet this month, so we have nothing to report. So, Lake Level Resolution Committee, Barton, do you have anything there?
We met on Friday, last Friday, the 11th, and we discussed a few items about the lake level resolution. So I don't have anything specific at this point in time, but I believe we will meet. And I know certain things have happened just now that they have the Senate and the House have passed a bill which is destined for Governor Dayton's desk about the DNR not having to adhere to the judge's decision from August of 2017. So I know that's something, but I'm still interested in the subject. So, but don't have anything specific yet. We will next time.
Okay, thank you. And just as clarification, technically, I don't think the committee met. You didn't have a quorum of the committee members there.
Oh, so that, to clarify specifically, I met with Brian DeSmet, Mike Paranto, and Greg. Jeff. And so 4 of us met at Caribou Coffee on Friday. So that was not an official meeting. It was just to discuss the inception of this committee.
Okay, thank you, Barton. Any questions for Barton? Okay, thank you. Lake Quality Committee, Mike?
Lake quality, lake level right now is 923.35. 923.35. Last year, on this same day, actually the 17th, it was 923.20. So it's a little over 1/10 of a foot higher, or 1.25 inches. So that's good. The temperature, the water temperature today is 56 degrees, and last year at this time it was 58 degrees. So things are normal. The last item is Eurasian Water Milfoil Treatment bid approval. I passed out in all the papers you found when you came here tonight, a copy. It says Lake Management on the top, and the bid for the treatment. Now, last month we approved the bid for the survey, and the survey will take place the first week in June. What day is yet to be determined. It'll be as early as possible on a calm, sunny day. Now, we go to the next step, which is approving for the treatment of milfoil. And in front of you, you have all these different products and how much it costs for 62 acres, 72 acres, or 82 acres. We've been consistently finding 62 acres. We are expanding our search and getting a little more aggressive this year, not knowing what'll be out there. We're treating deeper, and we're doubling the amount of the product, and we're doubling the strength of the product, I should say, the dosage. All things that will enhance the treatment and do better. Last year, we weren't as pleased as we could be with how the treatment worked out. This year, we've been asked by not only the sailing committee, but others to increase and treat deeper. So in doing that, you see these numbers here and all our choices. Now, the first choice is liquid 2,4-D. Now, that last year was MDA4. It goes by other names. So the applicator used a generic term because prices may change on some of those products, and he wanted to bid and keep his price steady. And he knew that he could find the same product, the same derivative, and the same, basically the same thing. So he didn't put a brand name in there. If you go down three spots, you'll see liquid triclopyr. That is a brand name. That's what we've used a lot in the past. In fact, almost exclusively, and 2 years ago, we thought we were getting diminishing returns on it. So we tried that MDA4 last year at 2 parts per million, and we felt we got an okay treatment, but it wasn't as good as it should be. So this year, the MDA4, which would be the first thing on your list, 2,4-D now, calling it 2,4-D, is double the dosage. It was 2 parts, and this year it's going to be 4 parts. And we're treating deeper. We treated 3 to 4 feet. We're going to treat 8 feet deep. It did increase the prices from last year. So looking at these numbers, our budget for treatment is $36,000. So if we find, it's consistently been 62 acres out there. If we find 20 more acres, 82 acres, we can still treat within budget with the 2,4-D. What would be ideal would be to treat with the 2,4-D and then take the liquid triclopyr and maybe treat some of it with that. But the danger in that is we might go over 36,000 to see which one works better. And there's also one, the 5th one down, Aquastrike, which also is has been recommended by the applicator. And that's even more expensive. We might try a few acres with that. So I think this year pretty much we are going to spend the 36,000 that we have budgeted. And the question would be, I would ask for the 36,000 to be approved, but the question would be, would we want to add any to that just in case we find a lot of milfoil? And we want to try a couple of products to see which one works the best. If that, if you feel that we should add a little bit more to the 36,000, speak up. If you don't, and we find a ton of milfoil that needs to be treated, we'll just have to have a emergency board meeting the 2nd week in June. So before I make a motion, any comments or
I have a
input?
question, Mike. When is the proposed date for, because I know sometimes we haven't even treated till after the 4th of July.
Right. Well, the survey will take place the 1st week in June. I talking with the applicator, he's ready to treat the 2nd week in June. When you treat, like anything, and we'll know when we do the survey is really going to be the tell-all, is the plant growing? If it's not growing, it's not worth treating. But if it's growing, it will take in these agents, and the agents then will do their job getting rid of the plant, either making it grow too fast or actually killing it, depending on which one we use. So the optimum time would be right after the survey, the 2nd week in June. If it's cold, windy, rainy, those are not growing times. You want it calm and sunny. Those are growing times. If we don't get any of those days in that 1st week of June, then we just sit and wait till the next one. In the past, we haven't done the survey until the 2nd or 3rd week in June, and then the application the following, the 4th of July.
Right.
And that was so we could, very assuredly identify every place there was. Now, we've consistently been coming up with the same 62 acres. Plus, and then last year there were other areas that showed up. So I talked with the DNR, Keegan Lund to be exact, and he assured us that since we've been treating these 62 acres, that we're pretty sure that if there's still milfoil there, it doesn't have to be up to the surface, but if there is milfoil in that area, that he'll approve the 62 acres for sure, and everything else that we find. So that's kind of the baseline, is 62 acres.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so are you proposing then that we do, say, whatever's budgeted, the 36,000, whatever budgeted, and then maybe another 20,000? Or a set number, or just whatever it takes?
Well, no, I can't do whatever it takes. I don't, that's
Right.
open-ended. There has to be a limit. I think that 20,000 is maybe even way above it.
We don't have to spend it.
No, we'd only spend what we did. 36,000, I don't know, if we did another 9,000, 10,000, up to that.
Aren't we gonna be having a meeting, right after the 2nd week of June, we're gonna have another meeting?
Yes, the 3rd week in June. if you want to wait till then.
No, I think what we should do is give you the authority to go over with whatever you think you need to do. But I wouldn't limit myself.
Okay.
Um,
Well, if I propose
Mike?
that we would, Brian, you have an idea?
I think the 10,000 sounds good to me, but I think we need a motion, and then we can have some better discussion about that, because then at least we would know what we're all considering.
Okay, I'd make a motion that for treatment purposes for this summer of 2018, that we exceed the budget of 36,000 by 10,000 to 46,000, but not to exceed 46,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a bunch of seconds. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and Mike, if I say this incorrectly, you correct me. A motion and a second to approve an additional expenditure up to 10,000 over the budgeted amount of 36,000. And is there any discussion?
Yeah, I think,
Scott?
yeah, I think it's quite appropriate to do that, when we're discussing all of our cash reserves. I mean, one of the rationales was that historically, this can bump up, as much as double, I think we argued. So I think, we need to allow that, and I think 10,000 would be reasonable. One question I'm wondering, I know, ice out was like 6 weeks later this year than last year. Will that affect the timing? Will the milfoil be there when they go out and survey it?
It probably will affect it, plus it was snow cover all winter,
Yeah.
so it's pretty dark down there, not much going on.
Now I'm wondering if, well, I guess we'll find out when
Yeah.
they go out and do the survey, and if there's
Yeah.
nothing there, they're gonna have to come back later, right?
Yeah, well, the survey, I mean, when we do the survey, we've got this 12-foot long rake, 12 or 14, I think it's 14 feet long, and we go right down that far and drag it along and bring up whatever's down there, and you can tell when you bring it up if it's growing, if it's old milfoil, if it's new milfoil this year, or if it's just nothing, or if it's just dead, or if it's another weed, different kinds of weeds, so. But we'll do the 62 acres we know where we've always been treating, and we will continue on, around the lake, doing that, finding everything. So, to answer your question, if the growth has been set back or stunted, we'll still find it, and we'll see what condition it's in, and if it needs to be treated. If it's when milfoil grows like last year, and then it dies down in the fall, it gets a fungus on it, and it gets all hairy and fuzzy and slimy. And so when you pull it up and it's like that, you know that that's last year's weed and it's not doing well. So, but then the thing is that it goes by root system, then all of a sudden you have the new ones coming up next to it. So you do a drag and you get some of both, then you know you've got new growth and you have to treat it.
Okay. And in terms of the chemicals here, it's not part of the motion, but that'll be up to you and the treater?
It would be up to me to try to massage it around so that we can cover everything we find and still be
Right.
under.
And
yeah.
experiment with some different things?
And there'll be, if there's extra, some areas I would try a different product in a couple of them to see which one works the best for future.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's recommended by the applicator, and it's recommended by McComas too, to, sometimes, you get like a 5-acre spot, we'll use a different product on that and see how that happens. Some of these other products are more expensive, so. And we will not use any granular products because their increase in cost is only because the product is encased in clay to bring it down to the bottom, and the clay dissolves as it goes down. It takes 2 to 3 minutes for it to dissolve, whereas when they apply the liquid, it goes down in a pipe right on the plant and is dispersed right in the growing area. So granular in our case is not practical. If I put
Okay.
numbers in there so you
But
can
it
see.
costs twice as much.
Yeah, it costs more. Costs more to do it. And the bottom one, depth charge, Steve McComas said we will not use that at all because that's not specific to milfoil. It kills a lot of other plants too. So definitely shot that one down immediately.
Any
And then
addition?
the applicator, and talking with the applicator too, I said, because, you know, we've been working, doing these for a number of years, so there's nobody's, you know, everyone's just up front with everything. He said, oh, yeah, well, we would use that if somebody called in and wanted to be treated around their dock and kill everything. Then we'd use depth charge. So, we're not gonna use that, broadcast that in 62, 72, or 82 acres of the lake and kill everything. It's not gonna happen.
Any additional discussion? Okay, so we have motion and second, no additional discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That passes. And Mike, can I make a request that when you have an idea of when the treatment will occur, even if it's a window of a couple of weeks, that you let Kim know, and Kim can get that on our website?
We did that last year.
That's great, thank you. And then, Kim, would you make sure to also let our member communities know in case they want to add that to their website as well?
Okay, sure.
Okay, any questions for Mike? Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Next item is Lake Utilization Committee. Mark?
Mr. Chair, Board, two things for this month's meeting. First one is the annual fireworks display. It looks pretty much the same as last year, same company, everything like that. The only thing, I would move to approve with, because it is such a good thing for the community, we'd like to remove the fee. And that's my motion.
I'll second. We have motion and a second to approve and waive the fee. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That
Se-
passes.
Second one is the cruise dock. It sits in Matamidi. It's sandwiched in between a association dock, and then there's another easement to the other side of it. No complaints, same as last year, and it was passed in the utilization subcommittee, and I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
Yeah,
Susie?
looking at this picture, is 617 the access? I mean, I'm looking at this and seeing the docks that are coming in this way. It looks like the riparian rights to 617 would be eliminated altogether.
It's 605 is where the dock is. That's the dock we're talking about.
These docks here.
605 is the dock, and Forest Heights is the association.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, are they going out at this angle, or are they going out from here?
They go straight north because they have to. They're crowded in that area.
So what happens to these people's riparian rights?
They put docks out.
And this doesn't interfere with any of these?
No complaints.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Any questions for Mark?
One other thing, we are starting to get noise complaints right away. We're going to talk to, apparently, one of the boats that you can rent out, the large party boat out there in the marina. Somebody went and brought their own sound system and put it on top of it, and that got quite a few complaints. So we'll have a talk with the owner of the boat and let him know that they have to maintain, city noise ordinances, and it's his boat, it's his responsibility. Also getting some complaints about carp fishermen. They have specialized flat-bottom boats with large deck lights on top. They go out at night and bow fish for carp, and they'll go in and out through the docks and close to shore. So some of the homeowners are complaining that their backyards are getting flooded at 11 o'clock at night with a lot of light. Don't know if there's anything to be done about that, but we'll look into it. And that's all I have got.
Is that seasonal? I mean, the carps, is there a carp run in the spring?
I've never fished for carp, so I honestly can't tell you.
That's why I asked.
I believe they're out there most of the summer.
Oh, apparently
They're out
they're
there a
out there
lot.
most of the summer. I would take his word.
Okay, anything else, Mark?
That's it, thank you.
Okay. On to the Lake Education Committee report. Scott?
Yeah, we have been, I guess, first of all, you'll see a report on the website traffic. It continues to be down from last year. We think that last year might have been a fluke. where people were really interested is there. We're hoping that once we get the website done, we'll perk up some interest in it, and then we'll start making connections to it from our Facebook page and possibly our Twitter account. But we are actively working on it now. We don't have anything to show you yet. I don't know, is the Facebook page totally done or almost?
Say that again, the Facebook page?
Just the Facebook.
It's there, you can pull it up on there, we don't have a lot of content, I put some pictures out, I let people know when the ice out date was, and just fun little things like that I've put out there, but I need to get like some articles and stuff, and it does link to the webpage as well.
Yeah, and, you know, I suppose once we do this treatment, we can post that.
Yeah, I can put
you know,
that
to
kind of
make it
stuff
more
out there as well.
public, and
Yeah.
that'll link back to the webpage. Right now, we have a request we got some photographs. Thank you for everyone who supplied those. The website people would like to have more, particularly they're looking for some panorama shots. And I guess if you know any photographers who can do a nice panorama view of, say, Commercial Bay or, the island or, various parts of the lake, either from the shore or from a boat, we would be very interested in getting those.
Yeah, because the one she has now, you can't hardly see, they're not bright enough, she said, because they're too small. So when she puts them on there, where on top of it she wrote, "Lake is our asset" or something like that, but you can hardly see the pictures. They're real faint.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure
Yeah.
why that is so,
Yeah,
because,
I asked
I
her, and
gave
she
them
said it was 'cause
fairly
they're too
high
small.
resolution
Yeah,
things,
so I don't know.
that were
That's what I
photographed.
thought too, so I don't know.
So, yeah, I don't know, but she also wants some kind of panorama dimension stuff.
Yeah.
I'll shoot some wide angle and see what I can get.
Yeah, well, if you take a, high enough resolution, you can cut it down and make a panorama. But, the website lady is, calling around seeing if she can find somebody to take some pictures, but
You won't
I
find
don't
no
know.
pixels, and I sent you those.
I don't know, I mean, I sent her the big ones, so I'm not quite sure what her
Because I used some
problem.
of your pictures for Facebook and they were fine, so, yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know. So,
I'm not quite sure what the problem is, but anyway, there is a continuing, if anybody's got any good panorama shots, we'd be interested. I think we should be able to avoid paying for somebody to
Yeah, I don't
take
think we
them.
should have to pay for pictures. Enough Whiteberry people must have it between all of us or people's friends. Somebody's got to have pictures we could use.
Yeah, so that is an ongoing open,
Yeah, excuse me, can we just let Scott finish his report, please? Go ahead.
okay, so that's the end of the report. Open-end request, you will see the webpage when it's ready to show you. And open-ended request for photography, especially if they're looking for panoramas right now.
Yeah, I have a meeting next week also with the content writer of the webpage to give her all of our ideas of what we'd like to put out there. And then she'll make it all politically correct and pretty and all those good things. So if anyone has a specific idea of something they'd like out there, because so much of the information I went through every single tab, and almost all of them were either the information was no longer relevant or that it would link to some article that no longer existed and things like that. So most of that's got to start from scratch, so.
Yeah, and that could actually take a lot of work,
Yeah.
because in fact, personally, I think that's the bigger problem, is the content is old. Like even that brochure we've got was
Yeah, it
done
was
15 years ago.
Yeah,
And I don't know if we're kind of covered for somebody rewriting the brochure. I mean, that's a bigger task than what some copyright, editor's going to do, so.
right.
Okay, any questions for Scott? Okay, thank you, Scott.
Yep.
On to the treasurer's report. Diane?
Chair Board, May's 2018 Treasurers Report. is in front of you. I'd like to make a motion to accept checks 4489 through 4494.
Second.
A motion and a second to accept those checks. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you. Next item is our budget for 2019. And that also is on the desk. I don't know, what's the board's pleasure in terms, do you want to go through items? Or I kind of filled in numbers since I didn't really get any response to what people wanted to put in for the different budget items. So what would you like to
Well,
do?
just as, thanks, Diane. Just as background, so the way the board operates is that we look at the budget in May at this meeting, and then we approve the budget at our June meeting. And so if we can get the budget as close as possible at this meeting, that makes things smoother at the June meeting. But obviously, if things come up between now and then, you should raise those items as potential budget items. You see here in the highlighted, that's the 2019 budget, and the left column is revenue, and the right column is expenditures. And at the moment, when you get down to the bottom, you see that those balance. And obviously, that's what we would like to have happen. There are a variety of expenditure items, and I guess what I would say is if you see something where you wonder why that budget amount is as it is, or why there's no budget amount for a certain item, raise those questions and we can have a discussion. And you can also see how this year's or the 2019 proposed budget compares to past years' budgets.
And also, I would like the board to think about it. You mentioned having a balanced budget. Is that something the board wants for next year? For our June meeting, if that's something that we haven't always done that.
What would be the alternative? To have more expenditures than revenue?
Using our fund balance.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we have reduced our cash reserves, so I think we should plan on a balanced budget in the next year, and then start watching the cash reserves.
Yeah, I just wanted the board to be aware of that as an option and to think about what they would like to see.
That's a good point. Mike, what do you think, I'll just kind of get us going, what do you think about that Eurasian milfoil treatment number? It's,
Your guess is as good as mine.
yeah, it's down from last year's.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask.
I kind of like the 36,000 number, but, you know, it's not a big change, and I would ask to go over it if we had a problem. So I'm not threatened by it or anything like that. I mean, it's just,
I'll make that change, Mike.
Yeah.
yeah.
Once we pass this, is there any circumstance which we can make changes and notify the cities we'll need more money? If, say, we go into the summer and we say, oh, we're gonna need a whole lot more, say, sheriff patrols, or we're gonna need a whole lot more milfoil money in the, in the future. It's pretty early, it'll be almost a year before the cities have to pay up. I'm not sure what the rules are there.
Well, our budget needs to be approved by our June meeting, and then we send a letter with this budget to the cities by July 1st. I don't know of any way that we can change that budget once we've sent it to them, but I would refer to our council.
Chair and board, I can't remember the last time we've done that. So the procedure, I suppose, would be let them know when something changes. But I mean, you've got a fund balance to take that into account. So that's generally why you have that there. So you take your best guess now, which is why you're having a budget exercise. So it's interesting and timely that Mike's asking for a little extra to spend for this calendar year budget that you're already budgeted into. So that'd be a perfect time to maybe increase that. I didn't get that budget document, so I'm not watching it. But in any event, since I've been here, I don't remember ever
No,
having
we've
to.
never done that.
We haven't had to reapproach the cities, so that would be novel. And I think I would rather have you guys take out of your fund balance and then reevaluate next year at this time. So if something is grossly off, then do it as part of your 19 budget planning.
Do you like more, Mike?
I'd like 36,000.
Okay, I put that down.
And on line 6060, we're gonna need some chains for the buoys, because 500 just covers putting them in and taking them out, but no maintenance.
Okay,
So maybe another $100 on that. And this
600.
summer, we've got 4 buoys in the office, and those are gonna get used this summer, replacing bad buoys, so then coming back in 2020, we'll probably need some buoys. But we can live with 600 in that figure
Okay.
for them.
What about that water patrol cross in 6010? We've expended 7,000 this year, but we're only budgeting 6,000 next year?
No, we budgeted 7,000. We haven't
Oh.
spent it.
I was just wondering, it's under expenditure, so I was.
Right, but that's just the budget, it's not what
Oh,
actual.
it's budget expenditure,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, they're, let's see, what they have for the contract for this summer is $4,920 for the summer hours for this year. So,
Okay, it's only gone up a tiny bit then. Off of
but
the
that doesn't
previous
include
year.
the winter hours. But we can add more to that if you feel that Water Patrol is going to take more hours.
Well, I mean, we've always been talking about, oh, it's gonna go up, and it looks like it's not very much.
Right, they're still at $41 an hour.
So 6,000 is probably a good amount,
Okay,
I think.
yeah, I'll leave it
Agree?
at,
And if it's still 45, I'm sure we'll find other ways to,
yeah.
No, it'll be 5.
It'll be, yeah, because we have, winter isn't in.
Yeah, it'll be at least 5, and then if we have any other, like, noise problems, and we need to have, sometimes, we've been talking about taking, like, off, plain clothes and putting them on shore, and then, kind of filming and listening and watching, and then calling the sheriff boat in, instead of having people calling them in from dispatch, and then people kind of know they're going there, and they'll turn down.
because dispatch, they wouldn't charge us. But if we talk to them.
If we had special investigators out there, you'd have to pay the sheriff deputies overtime to
Yeah.
do any kind of special stuff other, above and what they have to do. Don't know that we're gonna have to do that, but it guaranteed, you're looking at, with nothing, no additional anything, a little over, I think, $5,000 a year for summer and winter.
Okay, so the 6,000 here sounds right.
Right.
Anybody else have any changes?
I just have a question. So I see the general public info / education, this is 6050. We budgeted 2,500 last year, and we're at 850 this year, and is there a reason for that sharp decline?
We don't need to use the extra help of the accountant,
Got it.
Courtney. We're down to just using her for a very short amount of time, and we'll probably cut it out completely until just having her come in at the end of the year to help close everything out, to make sure it's finalized,
Okay.
but.
Yeah, and I can't anticipate, higher costs. This year we had some higher costs because we signed a more expensive contract for a website renewal, but that was, almost a year after our last budget was passed.
Right.
And that was taken out of reserves, so.
Yeah, and I had put in 1,000 for that and then kind of reevaluated. So if you would like that changed.
There's a lot of, because they're gonna continue to charge us $50 a month for the.
Yeah, but that's in there.
And that's
Yeah.
included.
So
yeah.
that's 600.
Yeah.
And then that gives us 250 for whatever else we do. And right now, I don't have any plans for educational programs. And I guess if a huge opportunity came up, or say you wanted to, support this thing, or this H2O thing as a educational program, that's gonna, they're asking for like $10,000, and I don't know if that would be on a yearly basis. That would be a huge change, if you counted that as education.
But at the moment, maybe the 850 is a reasonable number.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Any other items that people would like to discuss?
Okay, I will make the changes that you requested, and I will come back with another budget for June, and we can take a look at it again and finalize it and vote on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And there's one more item.
Oh, me too, more? I didn't know that. What is it?
Computer purchase.
Oh, computer, forgot about that little guy. We're thinking we would like to purchase a new computer for the office, and Kim, would you be so kind as to tell us about that?
The best I can. I'm having the gentleman that's the IT manager for the city of White Bear is helping us and mentoring us on this, and he's gonna help us order it. But he helped us find, because right now what I have there is a laptop, and it's an older version laptop, and it's, doesn't have enough storage, and it's very slow, and it doesn't have enough ports. Like if I want to put in a flash drive, I have to unplug the mouse, and then the mouse doesn't work anymore because I only have one spot to plug in, things like that. So what this will help me get is, it will be a monitor with a tower, a keyboard, mouse, and also then updated software to go with it. So I'll be, the software I have for like Outlook and Word and those type of things that I use all the time, Excel, are quite a few years old as well. So all of this he put together for us would purchase all of those things needed. He'll set it up for us at no cost, and the total comes to $640.
Jeepers, what a deal.
Yeah, because they're getting the discount. He's getting the city discount as well, and
That's a good deal.
yeah, that's what I thought too. So
really
he
adequate.
printed it all out, but it's all, kind of jargons of codes and stuff, but
And it was in everybody's packet
yeah,
last
everyone had a
month
copy of it last month's
of the
packet.
proposal, so,
Yeah. And it listed all the codes and names of what it all included, and the processor and the hard drives and everything. But
And where does the 640 come from?
it'll come from, see, we had that on that proposal too, from 6480.
Oh. Okay,
So, yeah,
so do we need to approve an expenditure of
Yes.
our fund balance?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the expenditure of $640 out of our fund balance for the purchase of the computer.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Is, would there be I know Microsoft is trying to push Microsoft Online, which is actually a yearly cost rather than just buying the software once. Has that been discussed at all?
I don't know.
See, I'm just thinking of
Yeah.
in terms of the budget.
Oh,
See, like on my new computer, I got Microsoft Office, which means I gotta pay $50 a year or something.
every year to update it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, it's constantly updated because it's
Oh,
online.
I see, yeah. I don't, no, he didn't mention that. It just, here says it has a 3-year pro support, next day business, on-site services included.
Yeah, I mean, they might
I don't know
have a
about any of
different
that,
kind
no.
of deal.
No.
But a lot of companies are moving to Office 365,
Oh, sure.
which moves the one-time capital expenditure to a subscription basis.
Oh, I see.
And my only question is that for the budget, if there is a subscription fees, they would go, we'd have to add that to that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Kim, maybe you could check on
I'll-
that
I'll check with
and
them,
bring
see,
that
because I
to
don't see
the,
that it's listed outright, but I'll ask them.
yeah, and then
Sure.
just bring that to the June budget discussion.
Yeah. That's the only point.
Okay, motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Any questions for Diane? Okay, thank you, Diane. We're on to the board council report. Alan?
Chair and board, thank you. Obviously, it's a little early in the season, so the sheriffs haven't sent too many fish my way. If you remember correctly, it's, the 15th of May, so I believe 1 month ago, almost to the day, we had about 2 feet of snow. So what a difference a month makes in spring in Minnesota. As far as the bills go, or the bill, I guess that started, I think Barton kind of correctly brought you up to speed with that. It did pass out of both chambers. It was, I believe, on the 8th, it passed out of the House and went to the Senate. They had it and passed it, I think, on the 14th. And so I think they're now, the request has been made for a conference basically to, smooth out the final details. But it looks like that particular bill, which really does nothing more than hold at bay the order of the judge until next July. It's just an interim bill. And so what hung it up for a little while, it was in the House for a couple of months while they figured out how to exempt out of the exemption, I guess you could say, a couple of other portions that reached a little bit too far, is what I understand. I talked to Pete Fisher last Thursday about this, and so stay tuned, but it sounds like all but a signature from the governor will keep that order at bay. The disposition of the actual appeal from the underlying lawsuit, stay tuned. I haven't seen anything yet on that. And what else? I did talk to Becker. Most of us anyway, are familiar with the peninsula, or the fun that was had basically on his property or adjacent to it. I talked to his attorney last week, and we haven't seen any activity, so stay tuned. Hopefully it's a quiet year over there on the island.
Get us some panoramic pictures, though, that look great on the website.
Depending on who's there, yeah. I think you just
Might
find
be a
geese
good
now. but-
panorama for the website.
And Alan,
That's all I would have. for you.
regarding the bill, does that just keep the DNR from enforcing the judge's order? Is that what that bill is doing?
That's what that does, right?
Okay.
Because, it'd get a little bit too far in the weeds to say what the judge's order actually did. But the legislative response was to basically stay that legislatively. And again, with the appeals such as they are, without that legislative stay, the litigants would have had to have made some sort of an appeal to the court to stay it. And maybe they did that. It's been a while since I paid attention to what's happening on the lawsuit side. But this certainly did it legislatively, telling one of their bodies, essentially the DNR, to not enforce this until next July. So I would imagine that the July date is the date, because it's a year basically before all of these, or after all these things go live, after the legislature's done.
Okay, any other questions for Alan?
It's kind of, both newspapers, the Minneapolis and St. Paul paper today, in their reporting of this, raised concerns by some that it wouldn't be constitutional for the legislature to overrun a judicial branch. I don't know, do you have any?
Well, that is basically the concern. So it is a separation of powers, is the fancy term for it. So we've already got a judge who had to essentially, I'd heard over a very large lawsuit and came up with what I'm sure everyone, including her, thinks is a well-reasoned opinion. And again, it is in appeal or some stage of it. But now you've got a legislative body asking the executive to sign bills overriding the judicial. So could it be another ring in the circus as far as litigation goes? Absolutely. If someone wanted to spend their money that way, they could. So I'm not sure what would actually happen with the judge's order or who would take action pursuant to it, given what we've got and now that the water's up a little bit. But it was essentially a chess move for sure in the legislature. So, and they've passed it, so we'll see what happens next.
Any additional questions for Alan?
Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you, Alan. We're on to consent agenda. Diane?
I would just like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, announcements. Kim?
I don't have anything, but I think Marty wanted to talk about what he received from Patty.
Yep, thank you.
Patty Hall stopped by my office and dropped off some literature regarding the H2O for Life Foundation that she's involved with. And Brady and I are on Rotary with her, so we're relatively familiar with the foundation. But according to the letter that you guys all, I don't know if you all had a chance to read through it, but they've lost some funding at the legislative level, and so they're looking for, the paragraph second from the bottom just says, we've currently secured funding from the Manitou Foundation, $15,000, Matamidi Lions Club, $3,000, and want to continue our program. We hope your organization will be able to contribute an additional $10,000 so that the program is fully funded for the next school year. I did not speak directly to her on, I don't know the history. I'm new to the committee here, so I'm not sure if we've helped in the past with this, and if we have, how much have we helped? If somebody wants to enlighten us?
5,000.
Yeah, at one point, we gave a grant to Race to Reduce, and that funding went through H2O to manage those funds.
Right.
And that was to perform a study of basically high water use toilets in a certain part of White Bear Lake.
Yeah, they were doing conversions
Yep.
of old toilets into dual flush, and which had sort of, I mean, in the end, it was sort of iffy conclusions. It wasn't a resounding affirmation of that.
It does say in here that they'd be delighted to come to a board meeting and share what their hopes are with this ask. And perhaps, I don't know, perhaps that's what we want to do with this, but I guess I'm looking to you guys for some leadership on what you think about this request.
Well, personally, I think it's a good organization, and I wouldn't be opposed to advocating to support them in some way. It probably would be a good idea to invite them to our next meeting and have them make a pitch and let us know specifically how the funds would be used. I wonder about 10,000, but that's just me personally. But we can maybe have them come to the June meeting and then consider it at that point. Anybody have any additional input on that?
One thing that I would question is this, okay, this is for this school year, but they're gonna keep doing stuff with the schools, right? And getting back to the budget, if they need money for water conservation education every year, that's really a budgetary thing rather than a one-time grant. We could do a one-time grant, to help them out, and it is legitimate as far as what our mission is.
And I think that would be a great question to ask them when they come to speak to us.
Okay.
Thanks for.
Good, I'll tell her to have somebody come to the next meeting.
That'd be great.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on that item? Okay, so that's it for announcements. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, I'll make that a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
And so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.